Awesome. So if you are joining us today or you're watching this video at a later point in time, what we're doing is we're just spending a little bit of time talking about the importance of exercise to young people, specifically those who are 15 to maybe 19, and why it might be a little bit different to train someone of that age than it is to train an adult. So we're going to go through a couple of things on the whiteboard, just so if you want to screenshot that at any point, you can have a look at it. Or it might make a little bit more sense as we're going through. So just while I'm talking, can you make me a box just at the bottom for me, Laura? So when we're training younger people, they're a little bit different than adults, mainly because they're still growing. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things that I've picked up over the last 10 years in training people of this sort of age that might surprise you. For example, and I'll ask Liv this question, then we've had that question asked, do you think you need more sleep or less sleep than me? I'm a working adult, and how many hours I do at work.
More.
You think you need more sleep. And actually, Liv's correct. Younger people need about 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And oftentimes, when we try and condense that down to 6 and 7 hours, or we're not getting to bed on time, we're not giving our bodies enough sleep to actually repair and grow. Between the ages of 15 and 19, you're going through growth spurts, you're getting towards your final height. There's a lot of changes that are happening, especially through puberty as well. So that requires a lot of energy. So you need actually more sleep than your parents do. So that's the first thing. So the first thing I want you to put in that box somewhere is sleep. So our first box, I want you to think of this kind of like building a house. If we're trying to make a strong, fit, healthy individual, like building a house, it's going to need a foundation, as Laura's labelled at the top there. Without this foundation, nothing else works. So you could come to the gym and have a really, really hard workout, but if you haven't slept well the night before, it's probably not going to be very productive. So that's the first thing. We need to make sure that we sleep well. The next thing is, if you think that we're growing all the time, so every single day, for example, Laura, for the next couple of years, will be slightly taller than she was the day before. To make her tall is going to require nutrition, so food. So your food is going to be important, so we're going to put food on there as well. And what we do in this course is we're actually going to really encourage people to get enough sleep and to have the right kind of food. So we're going to give them nutrition advice to make sure that they develop well as individuals, whether that be weight loss or even weight gain. When I was between 15 and 19, I needed to gain weight. Some would argue I still do. So that's going to be quite important. The next one I'm going to talk about is a little bit more complicated, and that's posture. So for posture, oftentimes, when we're younger, we're in school for 8 hours a day, we're sat in front of a desk. We're either studying on computers, things where our shoulders are forwards, and a lot of time, students come into our classes and they have this kind of posture. So what we try and do is we try and help our students get better posture so that they can actually start to put load through their body successfully. So what we're going to do just at this point is I'm going to have a little camera swap. So Liv, if you could swap with Isabel, and Isabel, you're going to be my model just for a second. I'm going to look at a couple of different things. So all you need to do, Liv, is just make sure that you've got myself, Isabel, maybe Laura in place. So first thing I want you to do, can you face the camera for me? Now, without thinking too much about it, I want you to just put your feet about shoulder width apart. Okay, a little bit wider. Next up, I want you to squat down as low as you can and just hold it for me. So go right down. Okay, not bad. Now, perfect. What I want to do, Liv, if you can, just walk around and get a side view of Isabel. And can you hold that just for now? Okay, so in this position, now, Isabel's got pretty good posture. Her back is nice and straight. But what we can see is her body leans forwards quite a lot. So if I was to say, drop your bum down so this hip crease as low as your knees, keep going, keep going, keep going. She's getting to the point where she's really starting to struggle in her background. Have a little rest. Okay, stay there for a second. What we're looking for, and I'll go for the side view of the squat, is that Isabel should be able to push her legs out, support herself with her glutes, drop down so her hip crease is as low as the knees and have a straight back like that. Isabel, can you do this? And what we should hopefully be able to see, that when she goes down here, she struggles to get all the way down. Stand up for me. Now you swim quite a lot, don't you? And do other kinds of sports, running and all that sort of thing. So what we know about Isabel is she's got very tight thighs. The fronts of the legs are quite tight. which means getting into that position is quite hard for her. So what we would look to do is give her some stretches which would help her get into that position. So if you turn this way again, when we very first met you, do you remember what happened with your knees when you squatted? Yeah, show me what that used to look like when you used to squat. Exactly right. So her legs used to always come in like this, and Isabel used to get quite a lot of knee pain. So what we had to do is we had to strengthen up her bum muscles and stretch out the inside of her thighs so that her legs aren't sort of like caving in. You can come a little bit closer, Liv, and we'll go back to this position. So you can stay with me, maybe just on this side. That's really important. Really athletic girls like these girls, they're doing things where they're running and jumping, and if they're landing and legs are coming in like this and bodies are falling over, even at, how old are you now?
14.
Even at 14, you can end up with really sore knees, to the point where knees start wearing out well earlier than they should do. So what we teach these people is ways to strengthen their body and improve their posture so that they don't have these problems when they get older, if that makes sense. Okay? Other things. For example, if I pretend to be the old Isabel and I go into a gym, they let me do weights, and every time I squat, I've got a load of weight in my back, I do this. It's not going to be long before I get a serious injury. Most gyms that you, as a 15 to a 19-year-old, try and go into until you're 16, 17 years old, they will only let you go on cardio equipment, treadmills, cross trainers, steppers, because they don't want you to go on the weights equipment, because to go on the weights equipment, we need to put a coach with you to be able to make sure you're doing it properly, which is quite expensive. What we're going to do is we're going to provide that so those who are willing to do the exercise and learn will be able to have the skills to do that, if that makes sense. So our foundation is really important. We need to focus on posture. We're going to have a number 4, which is going to be correct form. If your form, or the way that you do the exercise is wrong, you will get injured. So that's the first thing. Before we do anything else, we make sure that that person can function, they're well rested, well fed, well hydrated, and are safe to be able to exercise. That's the first point. Can I have a smaller box above? So say, for example, we've now got an individual who is safe to exercise. Now, despite we're not perfect yet, that we can't go into a squat the same as me, but I've been doing it a little bit longer than you, we're still good enough that we can start to do exercise without hurting ourselves, and we can get better. So, for example, can I use you two, both of you, if you stand in the middle, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go through, make sure you've got enough space to stand, some body weight squats. So those squats where you're pushing the knees out, show me your squats just nice and slow, up and down for now. And I'm going to go through a few things that I think we could do. So the first thing is, for Isabel, can you turn your toes out slightly? That's good. Now, every time you go down, push your knees out. Do you find that's easier to get lower? Okay, so we switched on her bum a little bit more by doing that, made a bit of room, going through your squats. Don't worry if your knees crack and stuff like that, it's just a bit fluid in there. Good. Okay, perfect. Turn side on, we're both going to face that way and go into the squats. Okay, so Laura, I want you to try and go lower, so your hip crease goes lower than your knees. Good. Okay, pause there. So, we're going to just use Laura as an example for now, and you can watch and see what we're doing. So Laura, if you step into the centre and face that way, I want you to go into a squat, so your hip crease is as low as your knees and you're going to hold it. Freeze. Push your knees out a bit more. What I want you to do, try and pull your shoulder blades together. As she pulls her shoulder blades together, I want you to try and lift your chest slightly. Perfect. Now go up and down like that. Imagine holding your body like this. What that's done is it's engaged the shoulder blades, pulled everything back a little bit. Just drop your chin down slightly. I want you to look just slightly to the end of the platform. Keep your eyes down, head down a little bit. Good. Perfect. Have a little rest. Good. So as we're doing the squats, we'll pick up on little things that aren't quite perfect. So for one, when Laura does a squat, her hips are usually pretty good, but she does something different with her head. So when she squats down, she does this with her head, and her head comes back. So we're asking her to just bring it down so that it stays in normal position, and as she actually drops into the squat, she's keeping a normal head posture. Usually, this kind of head posture or this kind of head posture comes from using computers and laptops. So we'll make little refinements. So the next one is going to be adding more complex exercises. But we're still at this point on body weight for now. If you cannot master your body weight, you should not be using external weights and resistances. So, when we're doing this sort of thing, the reason we're using body weight first is because your age group is still growing. So your ligaments, tendons, muscles are still developing, and there's a certain amount of strain that they can take and recover and be fine, but there is a certain amount of strain that's too much. If anyone's climbed, you'll notice that just a few seconds into climbing with very small climbing holds, the ends of your fingers really hurt quite quickly, and it can ache for a long time afterwards. Well, you've got a little growth plate that's in the ends of your fingers. Your tendons are still sort of developing and getting stronger. Right now, you're almost like a new tree branch, quite bendy and very easily broken. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we give you the appropriate amount of stress. That said, a lot of parents who come to us are quite worried about the fact that we might be getting their kids to do exercise with weights. For those who run, jump and land, you have about 3 times your body weight going through your body when you land or run. So if you run downhill, you ever run downhill cross country? Every time you run, you're coming downhill. That's 3 times your body weight going through all of your joints. Let's say, for example, Laura weighs 50 kilos, for example, 50, 60 kilos, something like that. And she's put in 3 times her weight. Could be 150 kilograms going through one leg. She does that as running, the school take her through cross country. So it's reasonable to expect that if I say to Laura, let's put a 20 kilogram barbell on your back and do a very controlled squat in front of an exercise instructor who's had 10 years experience, it's probably safer than running. So we're very careful about what we ask them to do, and we make sure that it's within the realms of what is safe. So exercise with weights can be very safe and very useful when done properly. The reason most gyms don't want you to come and use their weights is because some people get quite competitive and lift more weight than they should, and perhaps with the wrong form. So with that said, what we're going to do, we're going to have a little look at Laura, if Laura feels okay with this, and we're going to demonstrate an exercise called the bench press. It's one that a lot of the lads will be interested in as well, but Laura's very good at it, so we'll use Laura. So you can follow us. Whilst we're doing that, you get a little bit of a tour of the gym. After we've done that, we'll probably maybe use Liv for a squat, perhaps. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up a bench press for Laura here, and it's going to be a flat bench press. The bench press in here, in this studio, and you'll see as I'm setting this up, is set up in such a way that we keep the person who's using it as safe as possible. So, there will always be a spotter, and in the class situation that we're going to go for, either myself as the instructor or the other members who are actually in attendance are going to learn how to safely do the exercise and how to spot each other. That's going to build a little bit of a team environment as well. So let's go, quite long arms haven't we, so let's go for number 4. So, first thing, Laura, I want to come around the back, and I'm going to get you to grab a seat on the bench. Liv, can you see me and Laura?
Yeah.
Yep, so Laura, don't bang your head. Freeze there. So, in normal gym, not many people will have caught this, but Laura actually knocked the seat here, so this seat now is not in position. Because there's a coach here, I can make sure that's in position properly, so she's safe. First thing, I want you to put your eyes directly underneath the bar, so that means slide down a little bit. Perfect, good. Next up, reach for the bar, just hold it any way you want for now. What we're going to do is going to use your thumb as a guide for distance. So let's slide out until your end of thumb is at the end of the knurling there. Good, good. Grip it really tightly. Hold that position. The next thing, I want Laura to have an arch in her back. That's going to provide a stable structure for her to be able to press. Now this sounds quite complicated, and we don't give all of these instructions on day 1, but we do give them one by one through the progressing weeks so people learn how to do these exercises. So what Laura's going to do, pull your shoulder blades in, And she's got a nice tight position there. And arching her back, but her bum's still down. With your legs, I want you to push as though you're pushing into me, like side of the bench. That's it. Now hold that position. You got it?
Yeah.
We're going to take the bar off together. Wrap your thumbs around. All the way up. A little bit more forwards. Now, nicely, you're going to go down, touch your chest, and then back up to me. So down, press. 1. We're going to do 5 of these. Press. 2. Press. 3. Press. 4. Press. 5. Being back in. Okay, that's good. So you can come out of that. So what we can see is, managed in the correct way, weights are incredibly safe to be able to use. This is actually safer than sending someone out for a run on their own, especially when it's dark at night. If anything went wrong there, I could always lift that off, or one of the other students can lift that off. And we're also handling weights that are appropriate for the age group. We're going to have a look at one more thing, and that's the squat. So, the squat, we'll also use this cage for. What you'll notice is we're not really doing single muscle movements. So we're not doing bicep curls, for example. We're using as many muscles as we can. And usually it's things like squats, bench press, deadlifts, to try and get the whole body to work together. So, I think this will be about the right height for you, Liv. Yep. Okay, so if you pass the camera to Isabel, and Isabel, you'll need to be able to see what's happening with me and Liv. Liv's going to do a little bit of learning, because actually she's only really done this once or twice. So she'll watch me, and then I'm going to make sure she stays safe. So this is really exactly what it'd be like for a new person on the class who's part of our group, maybe 5 or 6 individuals, learning how to use this equipment. So the bar weighs 20 kilograms, so I know you're strong enough to lift it. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the bar, we're going to hold it like this. We want to make sure the middle of our neck is directly in the middle of here. So when I go in, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to place it on my muscles like that. See how that's on my spine, Liv?
Yeah.
Don't want it on my spine. I want to pull my shoulders back and sit it on my muscles like that.
Yeah.
Okay, see how my arms are back? That's made a little shelf for it. When I lift off, I don't want to lift off with my feet like this, because it'll pull me over. I want to make sure my feet are right under the centre, and my back is nice and straight. Then I'll stand up. Once I've done that, I'm going to take a little step back, bigger step, set my feet. Okay? And I'll walk you through all this sort of thing. When I say go, what I want you to do is you're going to push your knees out and slowly lower down. Then push back up. The whole time I want you to keep your back as straight as possible, and then I'll get you to rack it, and I'll help you with that. What you'll have as well, so you can see what's going on, is a mirror. Now I'm going to make sure you stay safe with this. So first thing I want you to do is place your hands probably a little bit wider. Use your thumb to set the distance. That's it. Do the same on the other side. Now as you duck under, let's get your head so the bar sits there. So go under. Okay, so the bar's going to come a little bit lower. Good. Shoulders and elbows back. A bit more. Perfect. Right. Now from here, what I want you to do is stand straight up with the bar. Good. Walk back. Lift your head slightly. That's good. As long as you keep these back, do you feel like that bar could just fall off you?
No.
That's because your elbows are back. So if you keep these back, you'll be okay. Take your feet a little bit wider. A little bit wider. Good. Now, before you go down, I want you to take a big deep breath, fill your belly, and then tense your tummy like you're going to be hitting the tummy. You're going to go down as though you're going underwater. Don't breathe until you back up. Take your time. Big deep breath. Hold your breath. Down. Up. That was good. Should we try one more a little lower? Big deep breath. Down. Up. Good squat. Let's rack it in. There we go. And let's just learn the very basic fundamentals of a squat. How was that? Good. Yeah? Did it feel light? So, for example, in school, you'll probably do things like piggybacks. If you're piggybacking someone of your similar weight, it's going to be 50 or 60 kilos at your age. This is only 20 kilograms, so it is actually less stress than what your kids are doing when they're mucking about at school anyway, but they're learning how to do it safely in an environment where we can get them to progress, we can add weight to the bar in a way that's right for them. So this is kind of what we do. We create a bit of a team environment where the other students support each other and learn how to exercise safely. The stretching's super important, the posture's super important. All that has to happen first before we get to this. But if you have that foundation, your kids are set up for life. Thanks for watching this video, and if you like the look of it, get in touch with us at Machines or ask any of our students what they think of it. They're usually pretty honest about that. Thanks a lot.